Hi guys, welcome back to From PSD to HTML5. My name is Dan Wellman, and in this lesson we're going to look at how to create sprite sheets. These are essential when building websites to minimize the number of HTTP requests made by the browser when loading the page. The more images we can put into a sprite sheet, the more requests we'll save. But creating them can be a chore, and maintaining them or adding new images is even worse. There isn't a magic bullet for this, unfortunately, but we'll look at how to make the experience as painless as possible. One of the best things you can do when making a sprite sheet with Photoshop is to align the individual images to a grid and to keep it square. There are several reasons for this, including making it easier to provide a retina version of the sprite sheet at double the size. Making sure the sprite sheet is square also makes the CSS simpler and means that we can do cool things like write a less mixin that makes it easy to display any required background image. In the PSD we're working from, there aren't that many images that will be used as background images, but we can still create a simple grid-based sprite as an example. We can use the logo and the social icons. So let's go back to the PSD. The social icons are going to be the widest block of background images. So let's switch off some of these background layers first of all. And we'll just get them on a nice transparent background. And if we just do a rough marquee around them, it doesn't have to be exact. When we copy merge and create a new one, it will automatically shrink wrap that down to be just as wide as it needs to be. And just to make things simpler, we'll go with a width of 250. And as I said, we keep it square, so we'll set it to a height of 250 as well. So here's our sprite sheet. So the first thing that we want to do is divide our sprite sheet up into a series of equal sized columns and rows. And we've got 5 social icons. Our sprite sheet is 250 pixels wide. So we need our squares, the individual grid squares need to be 50 pixels in total. So it's really easy to just whack these out at 50 pixel intervals using the tooltip, as you can see. And then we just do the same for the rows as well, and these need to be 50 pix as well. And we can paste in the social icons that we cut. We need to just rearrange them slightly, so we'll align the very first one to the left and top edges of the first box, and then we can just align the next ones as well. And if we just do that for all of the icons, then that will align them to the grid for us. So just a couple more to go now. So the benefits of doing this aren't immediately obvious because there aren't very many icons that we're kind of aligning here. But if there were lots of them, then this would make much more sense. The last one now, as you can see, when we select the individual ones, Photoshop will automatically cut them for us. So the next thing that we want to cut out is the logo. So let's switch off that background color there. Do exactly the same thing again now. The cut doesn't have to be precise because Photoshop will shrink wrap it for us. And then we just paste this in, and in the same way as we did before, we just sit this at the very top left of where it needs to be. So this is our sprite sheet. So now that we've made it, we need to save it out as a PNG. So don't worry about the fact that we've got a lot of empty rows here. Like I say, this just makes it easier to maintain because when we get a bunch more background images that we need to add, then we've already got space in our sprite sheet for them. So let's save that out now. And we'll just call this Sprite. So going back to the page template now, we just need to make a minor change here to the markup for the list. We need to add the unique background image for each of our icons, and we also need to hide the text. So we'll use Bootstrap's hide text class again, and then we can just give each of them a custom class name, and we can copy that over and just update each of these as we go. Okay, so now in our style sheet, one more thing we need to do actually, we can just add the class social to this list as well. And then in the style sheet, we can use the social class. And first we'll set a general one for the links. So each one is in a 50 by 50 square, but that's not how big the actual icons are. So these actually need to be 40 by 40, it looks like. So we can make these display inline block, and then we can give them the required dimensions. And what was it, 40 pixels I said? Yeah. And we add our sprite sheet as the background image in general for all of the links within the social container. And we don't want to repeat them at all, and we'll start off at 0, 0. So let's just go back to the page quickly. So now they all have the Facebook icon. That's really easy to fix though. So we just need to add ones now for the unique class names that we added. We don't need to do the Facebook one because it's already got the right icon. So the next one was Vimeo, and because our sprite sheet is nice and organized in a grid, then adding the background position for each of these is really simple. So the first one needs to be -50, and then we can just kind of copy and paste as we go. So the next one I think was Last.fm, and this just needs to be 100 instead, and we can keep doing this for all of them. And we know that each one is 50 pics further than the last one. So what was the next one? The one after Vimeo. So we've got Vimeo Last.fm linked in, and that wants to be 150 this time. And the last one is Dribble, and that wants to be 200. So now when we go back to the page, that was super simple. We didn't have to kind of measure the sprite sheet to find out where each of the icons began, because it was nicely arranged in a grid. So it just makes adding that CSS much easier. And now we just want to float the list to the right. So let's add the pull right class here. Awesome. And we can do the same for the logo as well. Obviously we cut that out earlier on in the series, but we may as well update that now. So it's the link inside the H1, and we'll just change that to use our sprite sheet. And we need to set a background position this time. Because it's in the second row, we know that it's 50 pics from the top, so we can just say -50. And now when we go back, it looks the same. Obviously it's using our sprite sheet, so we've saved another HTTP request, and we could go back and delete the separate image now if we wanted for the logo. So in this part we looked at how to organize a sprite sheet with a simple grid. This makes it very easy to work out the background position of each of our icons, as we saw, and if we're using a preprocessor or handling Retina images, it also makes the maths a lot more straightforward. So you should always do that. Always organize your sprite sheets into a simple grid. In the next lesson, we'll finish off the styling for our list page. Thanks for watching.